I'm back.
All your favorite wrestling shows rolled into one. Welcome to the We Book It podcast. Let's start the show.
I'm back.
Hello and good evening, everybody, once again to another edition of the AEW Recap. I am your host, Coach, and once again, we have a lot to cover because this was the go-home show for AEW before Double or Nothing happens this Sunday. So we're just going to go ahead. We're going to jump right on into the action. And who else but we start out with a trios match. We have the Young Bucks and Jericho taking on Ricochet, Mark Davis, and Andrade, or as Jericho says, the Bucks of Jericho, because, you know, why not? But it was Y2J and Ricochet starting out for their teams. Ricochet quickly tagged out to get Andrade in so that he didn't have to face Jericho. Jericho, you know, he had his hiatus. He was gone for a little bit. But you could definitely tell he worked to get in better shape. And in the process, he looked a lot quicker than he has in the past. So he was doing a really good job keeping up with Andrade. And for this trios match that was very quick paced, you know, you had your typical hot tags, your quick tags as well, especially with the Young Bucks coming in. But very fun, energetic way to kick off the show. And it was something that was very, very fun. Nothing too crazy about it, but the flow was good and everyone worked well together, which I think was the big thing. But as it came to the conclusion, the Dogs showed up to interfere, which allowed Andrade to steal the win by pinning Matt Jackson. The assault continued after the bell. Jack Perry then showed up and hit Leona with a bag of onions. And then this led to everyone coming out to brawl ahead of Stadium Stampede this weekend. A couple notes earlier with this match. Jericho and the Young Bucks gave a quick promo. I do think it was funny. Jericho apologized for beating up the Young Bucks' dad, which was, it's good continuity there with the storyline. But then also saying that their dad deserved getting beat up. I mean, only Chris Jericho could deliver that line. Ricochet, again, he is a natural heel. And you think about his time at WWE, if they could have utilized that, would he have still been there? I'm not sure. It's definitely one of those what if questions, but him as a heel in AEW has been tremendous for his wrestling career. And then, like I said, Perry came out with a bag of onions. That was weird. That was very weird on that one. Okay, we get to our next match, which is an anything goes match between Tommaso Ciampa and Mark Briscoe. Briscoe carried a trash can full of weapons into the ring, so they did not waste any time with just your traditional wrestling. They just went right into mayhem. And these two have known each other for a long time, whether it was on the indie circuit or now here in AEW. And I liked that they said that Ciampa came in with a 4-0 record against Briscoe. So that, again, continuity. You're acknowledging that these guys have faced each other outside of AEW. I like that. This match got bloody quickly. And so much so that, and this was another weird spot, Ciampa used a cheese grater on Briscoe's head. And also surprising about this, AEW scheduling a match this violent so early in the show. Usually you see this later on in the show, like during the final hour, but they just went right into it. I will say this, it was a very entertaining match. Both guys were bleeding all over the ring. Briscoe eventually put Ciampa through a table with a J driller before hitting his own finisher for the win. But I'll say this because I know one of our co-hosts for the Sunday Night Pod, AC Slater, is this match was for the sickos for sure, with how much blood there was. Again, I was entertained, but this one probably was not for the lay wrestling fan. This one was for more of those want to see that mayhem. So definitely, again, different to see that in the earlier part of the show, but that was that. Yeah, the cheese grater one was the one that kind of got me of like, maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. We get to our next segment, which starts out with Tony Schiavone talking in the ring when Prince Nana interrupted him. He insulted Tony until he left the ring and then brought out Swerve Strickland for a promo. But before he could even get to the ring, Bandito showed up and attacked Swerve in the aisle. He had a huge dive out of the ring before sending Strickland into the steel steps. Nana caused a distraction that gave Swerve a chance to recover and take out the Ring of Honor champion. But Bandito got the better of his rival, and unfortunately that means he's probably losing on Sunday for him. But this really made the match personal. It was simple but effective. And again, for the fans of Bandito, I'm sorry, he's probably losing on Sunday. All right, we get to our next match. It's another championship match, and this is an AEW Continental Championship Eliminator match. So this one was between Jon Moxley, the current AEW Continental Champion, and Kyle O'Reilly. Coming into this, O'Reilly was already 2-0 against Moxley and was looking to make it a third for this eliminator match. The match started out simple, just some nice exchange of holds and reversals. There was no rush. It was kind of one of those methodical build-ups for this, sizing each other out, like the psychology in the ring. Even it felt like almost like a UFC fight in a way, that these guys were just kind of pacing each other out. And then once the weakness was hit, then they would start attacking that. For O'Reilly, it was his ribs. He got hit in the ribs, and then Moxley started taking over and hitting in that spot. This was a fantastic match to show that you don't need to go 100 miles per hour to be entertaining, but you can still build a story in the ring. And that is something that AEW has struggled with, but they are getting better at. And this was a perfect example of that. And right when O'Reilly had his submission move in, before Moxley could tap out, and this is where this match does not get an A from me, time limit draw. I hate those. I hate those draws. I am not a fan of that. It was very frustrating. Like I said, you just took a fantastic match like this and to save face. It's almost like when interference happens in WWE. It's not necessary. Sometimes it's got to be like, don't be afraid for the clean victory or something else along those lines. Not a fan of that finish. But I got to give credit where credit is due to Moxley and O'Brien. Their styles complement each other perfectly, and they work so well together. So, fantastic match. Just terrible way to finish it. We get to our next match, which is an 8-women tag match, and it is the Triangle of Madness and Athena versus Thunder Rosa, Mina Shirakawa, and the Brawling Birds. Rosa and Athena started with your standard lockup, but it didn't take long for them to pick up the pace and start throwing each other around the ring. And then as everything kept going on and each woman came in and got their spot, it was a little hard for everyone to stand out in this match. But I think they did a pretty solid job of balancing the time and making sure everyone got some good time in the ring. I think for me, the star was Thunder Rosa. She had some really nice moves in the match. She looked smooth, and got to give her credit for selling the mist into her eyes. That was top notch selling right there. Even after the match, she did. So speaking of which, that Rosa did get pinned by Tequila after she was misted by Julia Hart. So Athena and the Triangle of Madness won. Again, nothing too crazy about this match. It was nice to see each woman get their chance. And then on top of that, Thunder Rosa kind of stealing the show in my opinion, but solid match overall. All right, we get to our next match. It is the AEW World Championship match between Darby Allin and Speedball Mike Bailey. MJF was actually on commentary to watch this match. Bailey took control immediately because the champion was a little distracted because there was MJF there, and MJF talking his trash on commentary, even predicted that Bailey would win this match. And while this was going on, Kevin Knight even showed up to offer support to Bailey. And on top of that, MJF even tried to help him by saving him from a pin. And unfortunately, though, it was Bailey tapping to the Scorpion Deathlock. The match was okay. And you can definitely see that they are trying to protect. They're still making Allin look like that fighting champion with all that he's doing, but they're trying to protect him for Double or Nothing. And it's a smart move, don't get me wrong. But this also kind of hurts Bailey in the end. It wasn't Allen's best championship defense. I don't know. It's hard to describe. It just felt rushed in this opinion. It just felt like it was very rushed and that there was no real flow with Knight and MJF getting involved. It just kind of felt clunky. But again, I understand the finish because they want to protect Allin and make sure he's going to be okay for Sunday at Double or Nothing. After the match, Kevin Knight did grab a mic and tried to give Bailey a quick pep talk, and then he told Allin he would be coming for the title again after Double or Nothing. We get to our next match, which is Will Ospreay versus Shibata. And before Ospreay, of course, taking on Samoa Joe at Double or Nothing. So he's taking on Joe's partner, I guess you could say, in the ops with Shibata. Both men immediately tried to go for an armbar on each other, but Ospreay got his in for a little bit, but Shibata then got his locked in, and then finally Ospreay got to the ropes to break it up. Shibata offered his hand to help him up, but Ospreay just flipped him off and took him down by the legs. And sorry, I was just reading something here from this match. The match was fun, but it was very predictable because we knew what was going to happen. Even like I said, even though the outcome felt obvious, it was still really fun. And what I did like about this one was that nobody else got involved. It was just those two in the ring, and no interference from Joe or Hook. I like that. A nice one-on-one. So the fact that Shibata pretty much knowing to the audience that he was going to lose, he still made it feel like he had that chance to win. And that is something I always appreciate with a wrestler, is that even though they are going to lose, they still give you that little bit of hope that they might actually pull this off. And that's usually when that push comes for them, because the crowd starts to buy in their talent and everything. Ospreay had him in the armbar, couldn't make him tap, but he did get the hit the hidden blade for the win. Samoa Joe then came out after the match to confront Ospreay and get ready for their bout at Double or Nothing. I will say this, though. Ospreay basically gave away that he would win the Owen Hart tournament by mentioning the winner gets a title shot at Wembley. I mean, could you make it even more obvious that he's going to be the one to get to win it? It just makes sense that he's going to be the one there. But anyways, I digress. We go to our next match, which with Rush taking on a local competitor. And this one was probably his fastest squash match yet. I don't even know how. I would say probably about 20 seconds. That was it. There's really nothing else I can tell you about. But I mean, that was it. It was a typical squash match. I see what they're doing with Rush. They're building him up strong, but since he's just against local competitors, it's tough to hit on. But this one, we got a question here. Did Moxley bleed again? Surprisingly not. Moxley did not bleed again tonight. It was surprisingly a clean match for him, which is surprising from going from the Briscoe and Ciampa match that involved pretty much every weapon known to man, including, like I said before, the cheese grater and how bloody it was, to O'Reilly and Moxley having a very technical match and there was no blood whatsoever. So I appreciate the comment there. Yes, I am very surprised he did not bleed in this match. I expect him to bleed Sunday at Double or Nothing because I did forget to mention this. During an interview backstage, he actually thanked O'Reilly for pushing him to be better, and he said he would put the title on the line at Double or Nothing. So, yeah, he's definitely going to bleed on Sunday. We go to our next match, which is a Divine Dominion Open Challenge. So, Lena Cross and Megan Bayne held a 5-minute open challenge this week. Their opponents were two local competitors again. This one's different from Rush, because with Rush it was more of like, okay, we've seen this before, but you get where they're going. When you have champions doing this, it's not really the best way to use them. Especially going from one squash match to the next. It was, I don't know, it was poor booking in my opinion, that you go back-to-back squash matches. And again, I say this with Rush because you're still wanting him to get used to the audience. You're still trying to establish him. But with Cross and Bayne, you don't need to establish them. They're already established. And you're making them in the squash match. I love the open challenge idea, don't get me wrong. But I would like to see somebody already on the roster to get a chance for that. So, I don't know. That one did not sit well with me for that match. And yeah, I'm just not a fan of that. We did get, however, some sad news from AEW, and not tragic news, but it's just really kind of sad news. Willow Nightingale on Dynamite tonight announced in a backstage segment that she injured her shoulder during her recent TBS Championship defense against Red Velvet, and because of this, she has to pull out of the Owen Hart tournament, and so she will not face Alex Windsor at Double or Nothing on Sunday. In addition to that, she has to relinquish the TBS Championship. That just sucks. Willow was having a fantastic year, and hearing that news is just, it sucks, because the women's division in AEW is good, but there's always more to it. And yeah, it's just it's very upsetting, because Willow is a great competitor, and yeah, just very upsetting. Okay, we get to our main event of the evening, where it is FTR taking on Roderick Strong and Orange Cassidy. This match was just mayhem from the beginning. There was really no reason for the bell to even ring, because these guys were just on one. They were going back and forth. A lot of outside the ring. Orange Cassidy had a great elbow drop from the top of the ring post to the outside, landing on FTR. It was just a very entertaining match. There was a really cool spot that I liked when Cash was trying to go after Orange Cassidy on the apron. Cassidy ducked, and Cash basically just ran right into the turnbuckle wiring and fell off. So it was a pretty entertaining match. It was very good. In the end, it was. I'm sorry. I just also saw something. Another more AEW news. It was very busy tonight in AEW, and I'll get to that. Here in a second, but as we get towards the there was a nice little segment there where Dax, sorry, not Nax, Dax knocks Strong off the apron and then hit a pile driver on Orange Cassidy, but that couldn't keep Cassidy down, and that was a great segue into the final break of the evening. So as this match came to an end, FTR did end up getting the victory in this match, and that was it for the 3-hour show of I'm sorry, I'm really distracted by this news. I don't know how I missed this earlier in today. So anyways, the big news that came out of AEW as well, besides Willow Nightingale having to relinquish her championship because she is hurt, Mick Foley has officially signed with AEW, and he will make his debut at Double or Nothing on Sunday. What he will do, I'm not sure. I'm assuming kind of what Mark Henry did when he was with AEW, kind of be that backstage kind of voice, maybe even do some interviews every now and then. So, yeah, Mick Foley is going to go ahead and be, as they say, all elite now. And I'm just making sure I got everything cleared up here because, and a matter of fact, I might have spoke too soon about the FTR Strong Cassidy match because this match is still going on. So they are way past their TV time. So this match is still happening. Trying to get updates as I can. But all I can tell you is that FTR has been kicking out at 2.9 consecutively here. So they're doing a great job of giving Strong and Cassidy. So am assuming, yeah, they're running 11 minutes over their time. This is crazy. I haven't seen them do this in a while. I am very intrigued on the reasoning, but again, it is the go home show before Double or Nothing, so I kind of understand why they are doing this. But I'm going to give this one last look, see if we get a final on that match. Yes, so I was right. FTR did win their match against Cassidy and Strong. So, from what I've been told and what I'm seeing here, it was a fantastic match, really main event worthy. And if I can pull up something real quick for y'all. Okay, here we go. So I'll kind of wrap it up real quick for this match. Coming back from commercial, Strong tagged in, but the referee didn't see it. So Cash then tagged in to really get to work on Cassidy, but Cassidy sidesteps, hits him into the post. Cassidy then gets the tag to Strong off the ropes, hits an axe bomber, Olympic slam connects, Cassidy tags back in. Strong basically uses Cassidy as a weapon, throwing him at FTR, stampeded him into them, tossing him at Cash, who then Cassidy then hits a DDT, gets a near fall. Out on the floor, FTR is putting Roddy into the post face first. Then both come in on Orange Cassidy. Cassidy blocks the Shatter Machine, has a cross-leg victory roll on Wheeler, and then Wheeler kicks out at 2.9. Then after FTR mocks Cassidy, we then get a couple of things. Stokely Hathaway goes for a loaded punch with Christian's watch, but Cassidy headbutts him, covers Dax. Dax still kicks out, but then Stun Dog Millionaire connects. Fired up, but FTR are a step faster. They hit the Shatter Machine. Roddy breaks it up. Cactus Crossbody sends both he and Cash to the floor. Or Cassidy and Dax are down and out. And then as Harwood hammers him with uppercuts, hits a backslide, waistlock, and then Dax comes in, hits him with the watch, and then a lateral press for the win by FTR. Whew. That was a fast-paced match. So I did what I could on that. I apologize that we didn't get this in time, or that this was still going on while it was going on. But that's going to do it here for another AEW recap. Special shout out to Virgil for being my producer tonight. Hey, Double or Nothing is coming up on Sunday, and it is going to be a stacked card once again. Expect some crazy things to happen, especially in Stadium Stampede. But thank you to everyone who tuned in and listened. Thank you again to Virgil here at the We Book It podcast. I'll see you next Wednesday on another edition of AEW Recap for the fallout of Double or Nothing happening this Sunday. I'll see you all then.